So I've just had quite a really strange incident. Well, not it's not. It hasn't been an incident. I would say strange occurrence, not incident. Strange event. Um, so I'd already purchased some postage to send a parcel somewhere to do with the campaigns because, like, I'm donating some campaign material sponsorship. And remember that I put on the website that some artwork went missing in the post that I'd sent to Extinction Rebellion. It just vanished in the post. It's just disappeared. Like 5 really good paintings that they were a little bit too long for the postage, but they were meant to return them, and now they have vanished. I did get paid out for them, and I put a witness appeal in the newspaper, but Royal Mail just don't seem to be able to find them. They went missing at Islington, so I've sent some more. Not this is something. Well, it's the similar campaign, but I'm doing some things with Stop ULEZ to help them out now, and I've done some artwork to help for them as well. Some Stop ULEZ artwork and some Bent Cup Nubbies artwork that I've sent, and this is like recorded posts. So obviously, I had the witness appeal in the newspaper in the Metro. And, because I wanted to try, find out what happened to it. And I had, my phone rang the last couple of days a few times, but I didn't answer it. It was a Belfast number. And it turns out it is the, the Action Fraud site, when you report things to the police about, business crime or business frauds. I can't actually remember what I reported, so I've got to speak to them, but it's strange, it was quite a while ago, it was sort of the blue that they rung as well, when I've just put a couple of videos out about tax, because I think that a lot of companies have not been evading paying tax, have been collecting too much tax, and we've had to be paying it when we shouldn't be paying it, and we've been priced out, and we've not been getting effective use of his money, and we've also been obstructed from services and goods to help campaigns succeed. So there's that as well. And I got so I went to take this parcel. I'd obviously planned to send it because I had to buy it online. So someone knew that, well, people, if you buy anything you do now, I think people know about it if they want to know. I mean, there's those Prince Harry hacking thing with, Piers Morgan apparently himself hacking Prince Harry, which is quite crazy, really. You'd have thought Prince Harry would have a MI5 mobile phone, seeing as though William was meant to be affiliated with MI5, and, Harry's, in the whole circles of, having precision armed helicopters with, precision controls and the latest state-of-the-art, technology. You would have thought that his mobile phone was hack-proof, but apparently not. Piers Morgan hacked it, which is, all this is like, crazy setup stuff. I think it's all propaganda in the newspapers. Yeah, I don't think you can do anything now. Every time I seem to be doing things, people seem to know about it. We've been entrapped. We've been subject to an entrapment move whereby we've given up our privacy, and we don't know anything about these people, but they know everything about us, and that's a disadvantage. And they're claiming that trying to pretend it doesn't exist, and then to cloud everything and to make it hard to see that, or to even maybe get you to accept it and put up with it. They've got all these, Google ads that are tailored to what you've been doing and looking at. So everything you're doing and everything you're looking at is meant to be popping up ads, that are effectively spying on you, spyware. As well as there's loads of things going wrong with my phone as well, with malware, and the phone company they can't sort it out. They don't seem able to sort it out. some of them don't even suspect there's anything wrong. Getting them to believe that, it can be being hacked or that it is a hack. Every time they just say it's a technical glitch, then another one. But that's what a hack is, creating technical glitches just all the time. So there's always something wrong, or something wrong when you buy something goes wrong, or they mess with it so it gets sent to the wrong place or gets sent back, or it's a creative intervention where they can do whatever they can think of, and no one suspects it. Well, they suspect things now with Piers Morgan, but I think the thing is we've been led into this entrapment. They did warn us about this in a few TV programs. That drop hints that people have got access to his phones and things. But I think it's worse than that. I think that it's more on the level of, the 77th Brigade and the 77th Battalion. And I don't think it's all Harry the victim and, the media, the news, Piers Morgan, in the culprit, because a lot of these newspapers and media outlets are informing to their friends in the government, like Boris Johnson and so forth, who's got a job at the newspaper and best friends with the newspaper. They're actually informing 4 MPs or people. Sunak's saying that he wants more powers to look at people's bank accounts, but they've already got certain powers when it's for certain reasons. They can do that anyway if it's for specific reasons. So anyway. So I'm going to the post office and I'm getting a lift. Well, not the post office, sorry, the post box, right? Parcel box even. The parcel box. And it's been booked online, so if anyone can see that, they know where I'm going, because there's only one parcel box in the area, right? And I was going to take my phone with me, right? And I looked at the phone, and because the battery was so low, it looked like the phone was going to run out. So I thought I better not take my phone with me because the battery appeared to be about to go. So I plugged it into the charger and I thought I'll leave it here to charge up while I go. Now I looked at my spare phone and I thought, well, shall I take this with me? But because I've got no credit on it for internet, for data, I can't go online with it. It's not really any use to me other than kind of just for files, as a little, carry around computer or camera. Now, that battery was also quite low as well. Now, I kind of thought because it's not plugged into the internet and I ain't got any credit, then I won't bother taking it. Now, I should have really taken a phone because then I'm not able to take photos, right? But if the battery hadn't have appeared to be so low, I would have took the phone with me, right? So we set off, and then we go to the parcel box, and there's a car parked directly in front of, opposite the parcel box, so we couldn't stop directly opposite it, right? So we had to go turn around and pull up behind this car, and it was a silver car, like a rep's car, like a modern, executive's vehicle. I can't tell you what vehicle it was, but then when we parked it behind it, I realised that the license plate reg on it was BEN, Ben, like Bencop.biz. And it's some of the, political material and, promo advert stuff that I got is Bencop.biz. And the T-shirt I had on also was Ben. It's a Ben's T-shirt and the first 3 letters are Ben. And I'm like, what? And I don't know who it was. I didn't knock on the window. I didn't say, tell me who you are. But I didn't have my car. I can't even, I wish I could have, taken a photograph of it and said, look, can you believe this? Look, there's a vehicle here with license plate BEN when I'm posting this Bencop.biz artwork, right? And it's a silver car with, a reg saying BEN, like Ben on it, but with some numbers as well. I didn't take note of any of it. I should have asked the person who gave me a lift there if I could have borrowed their phone and say, oh, excuse me, can I borrow your phone and take a photo of this vehicle? But, can I say no? Why? Because it's suspicious. But it's almost like, it is a sort of position that, whenever you're with anyone and, something, you see a person or and you think, this is the typical style of, an undercover police or, a undercover cops or whatever. It was just like that, but obviously, he didn't do anything. But it's almost like, they knew that I was taking their mail to be posted or something and just sat waiting there. And funnily enough, it wouldn't actually fit straight in the parcel box, although it's quite a big parcel box. It was just a tiny bit too wide. I did fit it in there because it wasn't full up to the top. I'd filled it in with some protective, layers and fillings to protect it. So I could actually fold one of the top corners carefully in, and it fit in there without damaging any of the contents, because there was quite a bit of empty space in the box at the top. So I did post it, and it was all right. But, I didn't get a photograph of this vehicle, and I didn't like it. And I'm like, well, where's my phone? I could have taken a photograph of it, but why didn't I bring my phone? I didn't bring my phone because when I looked at it, it showed that the battery was low, and I thought that it would be a good opportunity to charge it up while I went down there, right? But I did consider that I might need some sort of phone with me. Like, why? I don't know. Just, this is the thing. But this is why, maybe to search for something online, or I don't know if I need to call somebody. But I didn't have any credit on the other phone. But it would have been a use as a camera, but I didn't take it just because that also had quite a low battery as well. I very nearly did put it in my pocket. Very, very, very nearly put it in my pocket, but I just didn't. I nearly did. But, because that also had a low battery, I was just like, it was like toss of a coin, shall I or shan't I? And then I just thought I'd leave it. So I went out with no camera to take photos. So, I wish I'd have, taken the license. I should have written the reg down or had a photograph of it just to show you that, this car was parked here with a license plate BEN. What are the chances of that? So, I don't even know whether I should tell you this, but because there's suspicious circumstances around, the police themselves stole my stickers from the evidence stores. They went missing, and then at the start of the campaign, so I've had some stickers stolen by the police who didn't return them, and then I've had some material now go missing in the post, although I've had parcels be delayed before, but this just has vanished. I've entered online art competitions, and they didn't enter that particular art in there, although I did have some other art in there that did get on there, but none of that artwork. I don't know if Keir Starmer or this Dale Vince guy kind of told them not to have it in there or what, but maybe the photographs weren't good enough or whatever, but that didn't get in there. So it doesn't always necessarily go too well. So I'll have to see. Hopefully it will be all right. But I didn't like the fact that there was someone there, and I really thought, I'm like, why would you even be there anyway with the license plate BN if it wasn't for a wind up? But if you remember that time when I think it was New Year's Eve, because I'd been out with a candle and I brought a candle back, to bring the new year in, or around New Year's Eve, and I'd walk back through the really late at night from a local, beauty, countryside, site, to see the new year in for a nice, outing at night time with a nice view at night. And there was that car there with the Bez, and it was weird because there was a guy stood at the side of the road, and before that car got there, and from far away, he looked like Bez. I'm like, that guy looks a little bit like, he looks like Bez, but then this car pulls up and he gets into it. Quite a small car, not like a expensive executive vehicle, kind of like, it wasn't, it wasn't like an XR2 or it wasn't a Golf or, these kind of like small, early 90s boy racer car, but it was like, you know, the modern sort of kind of version of what they are now. I don't really keep up with cars. I don't know if, you know, not a Clio or a Renault. You can get, you know, these kind of like two-seater cars that are the equivalent of, you know, what an XR2 would be nowadays, or a Golf GTI, you know, those sort of cars. It was one of those type of things, which is the closest description I can give. He like said license plate Be Easy, Bez on it. And I'm like, look at that, it says like Bez on there. And I've been doing some makeup.biz videos with using Bez and Sean Ryder in them. You know, that might have been a little bit after that time, I think. But it could have been, I don't know if it was before or after. But anyway, you know, that's another thing with the license plate. So that was odd. So like, I kind of thought, now, why am I mentioning this? Because I don't know, and why would you sit there with the Bez on if you didn't want it to be, you know, to make a point out of it, basically. Either if you were going to do something like that and you knew that I was going there, it would be only to be to make a point that you knew that I was going there and you were waiting there. There'd be no other reason. You know, that the only reason, you know, if it wasn't a coincidence, if it wasn't a complete and total coincidence, the only other explanation could be that you wanted to make a point out of it, right? A meaning, right? And, you know, I could have gathered evidence, I could have obtained evidence, but I didn't obtain evidence of that even car being there because I didn't take my phone. Why? Because it showed me the battery was low. This is the thing. You never know whether your battery's low or not now, or whether someone's just, you know, hacked it and, like, you know, done a little thing so the battery sign goes down to the bottom and then trigger the noise like In fact, I've just remembered now that for the last week I've been hearing that, you know, when your messenger goes, you know, when someone sends you a messenger message and it usually has that little round tab that pops up and it makes a specific noise. That noise has been going a couple of times on my phone, but when I've looked, there isn't a messenger message. But it's the same sound, and it's not for another app. And then I scroll down at the top to see what other apps have sent a notification, and there aren't any. And I'm like, why has it done that messenger app sound when I ain't got a messenger message? Right? You know? I mean, I could check my incoming tab, but I don't think there are any. I don't think there are. And I'll check after this. I can't check now, but I really don't think that there are any incoming ones either that I haven't seen. Because I don't think it makes that noise when you get an incoming one on the other tab. It only does it on the ones that messages that you engaged with. We'll see anyway. But, you know, and that was something odd. Very, very, very odd and strange. So, like, why is it making that messenger sound when it ain't got a messenger message? Because, like, you know, when the battery goes, it makes a sound, doesn't it? Like, and then, you know, if you don't do anything for a little while longer, then it just forces your phone shut. Sometimes it does that really annoyingly when you're halfway through typing something or something like that. And I'm sure there's got to be some battery power left in it, or if you're halfway through doing something like recording something. You never know whether people are just, you know, shutting your phone down remotely, you know, with all this Piers Morgan hacking. I think the sky's the limit with what they can do. It's whatever they want to do. You know, I'm not suggesting they are or aren't hacking it, but I know my phones, there are certain phone numbers I can't text at the moment, and they're not on my block list. It's not my SIM card that's broken. There's something wrong with my phone. It's not accepting certain phone numbers. Like, for example, you know, people, there's actually a couple of people I've been trying to send text to regarding legal matters and it's not gone through. I don't think they've blocked me. It's quite strange. So, you know, quite legal matters, lawyers. I don't really try to contact lawyers that often. So that is something quite strange. So, you know, there's weird stuff going on. But that, you know, there are a lot of weird things going on at the moment, you know, with, you know, this whole, you know, pretty much everyone who's involved in campaigning, we're getting these ULEZ fines against people in the groups saying that they've got a fine, then it's gone up to £6,000. and their vehicle is only a van that's 3.5 tonnes, and they don't have to be charged for ULEZ. People are saying that the LES, not ULEZ, the LES. And I went on the LES website, the official government one, and it says 3.5 tonne vans don't have to pay it. It says it clear as print on the government website, the up-to-date website, and yet, this person's claiming they've got a van that's under 3.5 tonnes, but they're getting all these fines sent out. There's some sort of hacking going on. I think some mischief going on, or something or other. Not just this Harry hacking case, but all different things with the campaign groups. I mean, some of the Just Stop Oil people, apparently try to do a Christmas single, and they've just been told that, their bill's been extended, their restrictions have been extended, from the court or police or whatever bail conditions or whatever, and they're not allowed to go out to play music because of the protesting. How do you know that, someone hasn't just, sent a message that looks like it's from the solicitor unless you actually ring them up and speak to them, if you only get a message. It's best to check. And if you can't ring them, when I can't actually send a text message through to this lawyer, for example, who I'm sort of not friends with, but I've been talking to them and putting some questions to them. This is the thing, who's in control of all situations. Now, the reason I brought that up, about that strange odd vehicle being there, and my phone felt like a setup, felt like power grab, make it so, make sure that he doesn't take his phone with him, when we make this point, and then he can't gather any evidence other than the fact that I saw it with my eyes, and I'm actually speaking to you now, unless someone stops my phone from recording. Now here, I found this channel today. I found this channel and I wasn't looking for it. It just popped up. Now, these are some court cases, right? These are some live court cases. I didn't like the fact it was Sky News. I thought the Parliament channel and the courts were only meant to be on BBC. Licence fee, taxpayer, public channel, inform, educate, entertain. On the BBC, government sort of aspect of it, the BBC, where the BBC meets the whole, government chairman section, kind of that level, because it's courts. I don't really like the fact that they're trying to make justice into entertainment, particularly with some of those shows, because I think they're very misleading. It makes it look to the public like everything's been done above board, when my experience in magistrates' courts is quite the contrary. It's kind of like where all action happens. A lot of the tricks and cons, the majority of the cases get put through the magistrates' courts. It's kind of like where all the kind of criminality happens in the courts, and where all the cup and ball tricks and the sleight of hand, and really a lot. People don't like going to Crown Court if they can't. So the higher percentage, not high profile cases, where there's a lot of eyeballs and scrutiny on there, but all of what I'd say the bulk chunk of everything that gets put through and people get done. I kind of I'm not a footballer, but when I watched the World Cup when I was little and when I've been growing up, and you watch the World Cup, there are some teams where you occasionally see some action, like when Holland were doing really well in the orange, and when, you see some of these, somersault kicks, when they do a backflip kick or really crazy dive headers in. But even in the World Cup, I always thought that it was a bit boring, a bit kind of playing the time game, like kicking the ball around, trying to take your time and get the timer run down. When they're coming towards the end of a match, if they're ahead. occasionally a team will try to score more goals, but they just kind of like keep the ball and pass it around until the time runs out, and that sort of thing. Long passes, and just kind of playing it for time. And when I always, when I was younger and growing up, whenever I have seen league football, the proper leagues, the proper teams, like all this, Manchester United, and all the Bristol, just all the whole, whether it's the First Division or the Premiership or whatever, it's that when you see a lot more of the mudslides, all these sliding tackles, they're really. It might even be raining, but then they don't seem to be bothered. They're just running and then just sliding in the mud with a leg out, almost like doing judo, some sort of Street Fighter 2 moves. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of there's a lot going on. There's a lot of whistles blowing. There's a lot of just moves. A lot more contact, a lot more nitty gritty kind of maybe you could say skills, but to say that they choose the best players to be on the England team, you don't see that action on I don't think in the World Cup, not from England. You do an Argentina. All these, wild cards, they're playing hot weather or train on the beach. All these wild. It's not really something that traditionally through Gary Lineker and Peter Shilton and, maybe this Harry Kane guy does things like that nowadays, but not when I've been growing up. It was, England were, I wouldn't say that they were flamboyant or, exciting team to watch in football, but it's different when you watch all the England teams. But then again, a lot of these teams are made up of foreign players. A lot of Manchester United, none of them, they're all Catherine
Hudson, Charlotte Will.
They're all purchased players, They're all purchased players from other countries, traded. This is why it's the Manchester Dream Team or whatever. But still, even in the lower, in the lower teams. So why I'm saying that is because, whenever I've been in magistrates' courts, and I have kind of a few times now, when I compare it to these videoed, recorded, live ones that are either on this Sky Channel or on, that other show they've got when, they've got those. It's more like, with the camera on the defendants, and they're kind of making them feel really guilty, and they're doing all this playing to the heart. It's almost like they're trying to school the public who are watching it. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Did you think that? It's almost like kind of Neighbours or Home and Away goes to court or something, or Brookside Close goes to court. And they're good, but it's a real judge. It's a real judge. But they're trying to make out that, this is how we do law, and they're thoroughly questioning them morally. They're morally drilling them. We understand. Why did you do this or that? Didn't you think it would be better if you'd have treated them this way, or if you'd have treated them that way? Trying to make out that that's how the police should be, and that's how society and the law should be. If only we could have a moral department, that's how they play it. I forgot the name of the show, but is it like Judge Rual, or Judge Raw, or something like that? I don't know what he's called, but I've seen the show, and when I watch that, I really think that it's propaganda. It's trying to, they may be trying to school the public, but it's also extremely misleading, because the reality of these magistrates' courts is it's like the difference of these courts. It's all slow.
Catherine Hudson.
It's all slow paced, and everyone gets to say what apparently these are the procedure rules. We're doing it by the book. This is when you speak. This is when he speaks. This is when she speaks. Now we'll go through A, B, C, and D, and then he gets to attempt to, put compelling argument or evidence, which actually some of these I'm starting to don't really think they're very compelling arguments. They might have a decent vocabulary, but he's saying what's required. Maybe it's summary, maybe he's summarising it, and maybe a lot of it's already established and already put forward in previous courts, but not a lot of these judges were the same people who were here in the previous sessions. It's all on record, so you have to take it for granted what's written down. And in the previous session, we established this, and that, and then we're appealing on this point, and this point, and so forth. It is condensed, but you would have thought if you're paying all this money for the barrister, there would be a thorough kind of rinsing, like a Russell Brand rinsing, almost like a Russell, to be honest, when you get into these thousands of pounds for a barrister, and they're all, grammatically superior, grammatically correct, and precision in legal theoretical execution, I still think that, you get more material out of Russell Brand. You get more value for money probably out of Russell Brand with his linguistics. But that's something that I've just noticed since I saw this Sky Channel. But I really don't like these channels being on here. If we had a time machine and we could film what goes on in magistrates' courts, the public, and it was explained to them, while it was being shown, because I think that, some of them might not even get it either, might not even know what's going on, you would be absolutely shocked. The public would be so shocked at the kind of play, the team play, as if acting, the staff, the clerks, the judges, your own solicitor, who's also a duty solicitor at the court as well, and also representing multiple people at the same time when they're representing you. You're not someone who's just travelled all the way to represent you, they're knocking around between 4 or 5 people. Seems like, they've got a hotel going for people, even though you went to the local solicitors and, picked them out specially, and then you've got the prosecutor with their own little office, they've got their own little room there when they need to go in and, fill forms in or whatever, and documents and so forth, or negotiate with the defendants and their solicitors or whatever. It's just absolutely shocking. The sliding tackles, the sliding mud tackles, and the cup and ball tricks, and the lies, the deception, the procedure, hop and skipping, the way they explain something or their description of it, and so forth. Even this challenge by the judge, just challenge the jury, always been challenged. Maybe challenging your knowledge, but we're not paying them to do. You're not paying the judge to be your solicitor, but some judges are paying people's fines for them. If that ain't doing them a favour and breaking their oath, I don't know what is. Yes, I'll do you a favour. I'll pay a fine for you. It's or filling in wrong times on attendance documents. Come on Saturday at 4:30, and then you turn up, and then we're already at 12 o'clock. Well, it says so here. Look, it's your signature. Oh, what a shame. Stuff like that. It really is, where is the referee blowing the whistle? We don't have one, unfortunately. It's like you're being played by some sort of dream team, and then when you're at disadvantage through the diet they've been feeding us. They've even got a pub opposite the court in Leicester. You can go and get drunk in beforehand. I once went to a court in Bolton and a guy fell asleep. He fell asleep. He was in before me and he was at the side of me falling asleep. That's when I had Nick Freeman representing me, but he didn't even turn up. He contracted out some barrister girl and she never introduced herself. She never said that she was my representative and she would be representing me and shook my hand. I didn't even know who she was until we went in there. That is what you're dealing with. There are some very, very professional people in that sector. Obviously, they've got chambers, but whenever I go to a court, and then you'll be sat there, and there'll be this amazing person, this exciting, vibrant, female barrister woman who's chatting there with a defendant, whether they find her. Or even a guy, looking like he's very knowledgeable in law and enthusiastic and vibrant, positive. Where do you find these people? Where do you find these people? Whenever you're on the phone, can you help me out? Or, where I don't have the capacity, we don't have the capacity, we don't have the capacity, 8 to 10 lawyers later, I give up, can you help me with this? So, no, we can't help you with it, we can't help you with that, Do you specialise in actions against the police? Oh yes, can I get it on, legal support? No, yeah, but we don't have the capacity to. How does it happen? How do they? I'm not saying that the whole thing is corrupt, but it's. I don't know how. You really need to you need smelling salts. You need to wake up. You need smelling salts. You need someone to slap you around the face while you're in court to wake up. Wake up! Like that guy who was asleep next to me. Wake up! I had to wake him up. Oh, you're in now. He's calling you in. You're in before me. I was sat there for about 5 hours, I think, or something. I didn't even know. You need smelling salts to wake you up, for that extra, what's happening, what's going on, can't think of the word, this is it, I can't remember, if only I could remember, if only I could think of the word, I can't think quick enough, if only I could be sharp enough on the ball, this is the thing, maybe if you had the courage, go up to, excuse me, I hope you don't mind. Excuse me, I'm looking for a barrister for a case next week. And would you have your business card? Whatever. This is. But no, we don't. We get solicitors who are trying to challenging us, talking us down from his own plea. Or even, trying to say that the judges are saying that we're not allowed to plead because they're too busy. You're not allowed to plead guilty, it's too busy. What? Short of being called delusional, when it's written in statute law in black and white, So, I don't like magistrates' courts. And I really don't like these channels, really. Now, this Sky channel, Sky News Courts. How many videos are there? They've only got 58 videos. So they only obviously what happens if there aren't any court sessions? Well, they wouldn't have any videos at all. Ideally, we don't want any court sessions because we don't want anyone to break the law or any crime. We don't want there to be any videos. But they've got 58, so I don't know how long this channel's been going for, if it's relatively new. They've got 13,400 subscribers. I don't like the idea of Sky News getting a contract with the HM government, Ministry of Justice, to do these programmes. I really don't like it. This is all part of the BBC being shut down, probably. Actually, I don't mind Sky News as a news programme or Channel 4 News, but I don't like all these new channels popping up. You know, they're really kind of like, like Chat Magazine standard. So, yeah, I kind of opposed to this. I don't necessarily... I mean, they're not presenting the programme. They're not presenters. It's just a recording of a session. Obviously not all of them will be allowed to be shown, will be put on there. And I don't think they show the... I think they might... Some of them might show the full room. Some of them walk in like almost floating through those doors when they enter. I've actually been watching a little bit of it because, some of what the barristers are saying and the records, they all read off the sheet as well. To be honest, not that many of them are... I mean, like Penny Mordaunt, she's like, she's umming and ahhing, trying to like slow it out and delay it while she's trying to remember what she's saying. They're all sheet readers. I mean, Andrew Bridgen, I don't think I've seen an MP who's just like, doing it off the top of his head, although they want to get it factual and correct. But, you would think that if they've revised it, this is what you do at school, revision. When you do your exams, you're not allowed to have, you've been tested. The whole point of revising for the test, you're meant to, in education, the whole point of the revision is so you know it. So then when they give you the test sheet, then you don't have to, you're not going on Google and looking for the answers. This is it. You would have thought that, £1,000 barristers, a big wad, 1K barristers, would revise the case, particularly when it's, on someone going to prison or not, or being released from prison. It's concerning the amount of kind of like, reading through the document. And this is the thing, a lot of them even read off a screen live. How do you know it's not been, words aren't being changed or a number being changed while it's live in the courtroom? I've thought that on multiple occasions. I'm like, this, who's this CPS guy? Has he revised this? What's he reading off the computer for? It's like reading off the computer as if he's never encountered this case before. It's like he's just been sat on there and random cases popping up on the computer, and then, there's another one now. And what happened last week? Let me look. Apparently, the defendant was... No, just a minute. Are you the current prosecutor who's been dealing with my case the whole time? Or have you been talking about and discussing it at CPS headquarters in Leicester? When I, came in to speak to someone through the glass window and knocked on the door and posted a big parcel through, and wanted to, do actions and, so forth. There are legal actions you can do, like, I forgot what it's called now. See, this is my revision failing. You can fill certain forms in with them and do certain agreements or actions whereby the CPS will agree to something or another action or agree to it, or you can compel them to it. And I use that multiple times. Sometimes I've used these proper forms for a proper process and it worked. Like, it's like, if you get the proper form and you get the proper application and you give it to them, then it does work if you do it right. Other times, the CPS don't want to comply with it. Usually if it's the court that you do it to, they accept it. So, yeah, I mean, what is the point of this now? So the point of this is that one of these cases here, for example, is about... there's this hospital workers have been jailed for sedating the patients. The hospital workers were giving drugs to the patients and sedating them in harmful drugs so they would be easier to look after. They got prisoned for that. I can't argue with that. Being given drugs, and those drugs are also harmful. sedate, to sedate them. We've all been. I think they're trying to sedate. You could say to Leicester Magistrates Court, has this court been conveniently placed opposite a pub, so they could encourage the witnesses and the defendants to go sedate themselves before they go into Leicester Magistrates Court. That's straight across the road, opposite the road. You could say that. I mean, if you want to look at how many breathalyze people when they're coming through the door, I don't know if they're allowed in when they're drunk or not. I think they're allowed in when they're drunk. They're just not allowed in if they've got any dangerous items on them. Which brings me to another case here. There's a case, and I think the barrister was wanting to try and get someone's lifetime jail sentence reduced, so it wasn't lifetime anymore, or some sort of parole or some operation. And they've been. What happened is they shot a sergeant in a police station, but they were somehow in detention, right? But while they were in detention, someone smuggled a gun in, and they shot a duty sergeant. Who is behind the Dr. No kind of like desk going. They don't even have a name for it. I asked them what it's called, that desk, the checking in desk at the police cells, and they said it doesn't have a name. And I'd call it the Dr. No. It's like the Dr. No desk. It's like Dr. No. If there's anything, in life, I've never, ever, ever in my life encountered anything that is perfectly matches what happens to them, on the island when they go to Dr. No's island and they go through his little processing procedure. It is like, the police when you get arrested and have to go through the little booking in thing. If you manage to not get charged, you don't have to go through that because you just go into the normal police station waiting room, and then you just go into an interview room, and then you leave. That's it, and you get to keep your shoes on. When they ask you to take your shoes off, then you know that if you walked in with no shoes on, if you're a hippie and you walked in with no shoes on, I think you'd have been, I ain't got any shoes. Take your shoes off. I don't have any. So, I don't know, that guy maybe he'd have been better smuggling a pair of shoes in. If he'd have smuggled himself a pair of shoes in, then it might have been useful to, try and do something. But I don't know how this gun got smuggled in. How did they know? How did they know he was there, firstly? Did he use his phone call? If he used his phone call, don't they know who he's phoning, right? And I don't think you can have any visitors when you're in the police cells. So I don't know how it got smuggled in. What are the circumstances for this? How did it get smuggled in? It could only have been smuggled in by another officer, couldn't it, surely? It seems ridiculous. It seems absolutely ridiculous, really. Because they're meant to take all your things off you. And I've seen that programme with that Tory MP, and he goes into prison, and it's kind of like they're doing I think he's volunteered to go in there to see what it's like. But he's a Tory MP and he volunteered to go on this programme, and then there's this guy smuggling drugs in, in his oracles and orifices, and, but it really smells, and then the Tory MP has to smash the window because he's smuggled some cigarettes in so he can have a cigarette. And I didn't really watch much more of it than that. But I know that I just figured out, all right, the Tories are trying to, make some sort of example out of prison or whatever. So I don't know how that happened when they smuggled that in. And this is the point that I want to get onto. I think that was set up. I mean, one of the solicitors was found in America, I think, had been found smuggling drugs in. It could have been in England. I think it was in America. Sorry for this, but it's quite tenuous, but it is true. I read it the other day. This is an actual proper case. He'd been smuggling drugs into a prison, had the solicitor soaked in the papers. And everyone knows that you can have drugs soaked into paperwork, but you never think to check them, So, and they've been doing it for a long time, in the paperwork when the solicitor had been going in to see him, So I mean, you could probably make a bullet. You know, if you know, you could probably, if you had enough paper, if you condense paper and pack it in tight enough, it'd probably be hard enough to shoot someone with, you know, some paper. I know the police shoot people with rubber bullets anyway, don't they? I don't know if they penetrate them or if it just makes a big bruise when it's rubber. If you made a bullet, if you like compressed paper and kept squishing it and squishing it and squishing it, and you made it really, 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 really hard, and you know, it operated, you know, with gunpowder behind it somehow in a gun. It might do more damage than a rubber bullet, because if you think rock hard solid paper, what is the viscosity of the rubber bullets? Are the rubber bullets like a hard rubber, or are they soft, or do they have, like, you know, grading? Shot him with a grade, you know, a 13A rubber bullet or a 12C rubber bullet, or, you know, a 75A. It's measured in A. You know, a 50A rubber bullet, or a 85A rubber bullet, or a 90A rubber bullet, or a 101A rubber bullet. You know, what type of rubber is it? Urethane? You know, what you know, are they squishy? Are they like jelly? There are various types, and then do they get switched when the police have them? You know, how would you know the police? You know, if someone can smuggle a gun into a police station, how would you know that when the police, you know, are shooting the gun, someone doesn't change the hardness of the rubber bullet? So, you know, it should have just bruised someone, but it ended up killing them. You know, and then, but when they look at it, you know, it's still got the same number on it. Like, you know, it says like the same hardness, but it's a different hardness to what it says. You know, there are all kinds of things that could go on with the police themselves if someone can do that. When would anybody ever think of checking the hardness? And how do you know how hard the bullet is unless you really, 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 like, know your rubber bullets? Like, you know, if you bite it with your teeth and you put your nails into it and you, this feels a little bit harder than usual, can make the difference or not. There's always the kind of worms you can open into this field of study and endeavour, but people don't think of stuff like that, you know. But what I'm saying is, we know that it was a setup. The whole thing with the inmate was a setup, and then the whole thing with the that gun had to have been a setup. Now, the reason that I believe that it makes me think that it's a setup is based on what happened at London Bridge with that Gallant guy, Stephen Gallant, or whatever he was called. He was an inmate. He was a prisoner, and he was, God knows how or for what reason or excuse they're giving, but he was being transported, or he was out on leave, or he was out on duty, and he was out. He wasn't in prison, and the odds on that, you know. And this is when there was one of those terrorists from, you know, Asian terrorists from a terrorist organisation, something to do with the London Bridge area. And this is when this, you know, Gallant guy apparently jumps into hero mode and tackles him, or, you know, and then he gets a pardon from the Queen before she passes away, a few years before she passed away. And I'm like, that is absolutely impossible. That is like, you know, some sort of test. That is, they set it up so to test him, or that outcome was controlled. It was that was controlled events. And because it cannot be coincidence that he was there himself from the prison side of it, then you know, how did they get the terrorists there? It wasn't coincidence. Therefore, because it cannot have been a coincidence that. Therefore, I know that the one smuggling the drugs in was planned and plotted. Now, that's the level of intelligence and planning that we're dealing with these things. It involves an inmate. It involves a contact who is working in the legal sector. It could be anyone, but a contact, a legal professional who's a contact, a prisoner, and something being set up, planned, staged. And that is what I believe the dynamics are on London Bridge. That involves a prisoner. It involves a contact, whether or that's prisoner guards or a solicitor or someone. And then you've got it wasn't in that instance. It was another human. They managed to get a human there. They needed to get a terrorist into this place and position when Gallant was going past, rather than getting a object like some documents into the prison. So in that situation, it was the documents they had to get into the right place and get them in there. With, beg your pardon, I just swallowed wrong. Between the inmate and the contact. In the London Bridge instance, you've got an inmate who is with a contact out, and what they've got there is they've managed to get this terrorist there into position. And this, you see, this is what I believe happened with that gun. It has to have been. Now, even if it was, well, they're not denying that it wasn't planned and set up, but the thing is, who gets prosecuted, who gets convicted, is the person they got in there. And what they get out of it is a story, is some very compelling propaganda, some very compelling incidents that get reported. They get a court case out of it, obviously at the loss of a police sergeant. And it creates public concern, sympathy, fear, the need for caution and siding with the police against these bad people. Now, if the planners hadn't have all been merely members of the public friends, contacts of the inmate, if these planners had been a solicitor, that's a legal professional who is admitted to the bar, to serve at the bar, possibly has friends in the legal sector. If it had been a Crown prosecutor, then you're getting serious, or a police officer or someone. So, who planned it? Now, the thing is, when something's been planned, you don't know even who's planning it, because you've got a situation, and then you've got a surrounding set of circumstances, therefore, around the situation, thinking outside of the box. Now, my example is like, if there'd have been an incident, for example, at that post box, with this vehicle, with this Ben character, because obviously I couldn't fit the parcel into the post box. That's my fault. I got to choose, what box I used and what package. But the thing is, I had planned to go there, right? But someone, was it coincidence, or did someone watch my plans and then, arrange for a person to be there to make a point of something, to happen? Well, I couldn't take a photograph and gather evidence of what's happening because my phone battery was displaying showed as low. Now, if it hadn't have been showing as low, if it would have been full or half full, I wouldn't have left it here. Now, you could say, well, are you certain? Well, I know the odds, the bet, if you wanted to bet whether I'd leave my phone or not, if the battery wasn't low and it needed charging, you could bet within reason that I would absolutely have taken my phone with me, right? And I would have ended up with a photograph of that silver car with the registrate Ben on it, right? But I didn't. So, this is the thing. if you wanted to control what someone can and can't do with their phone, if you've got control of their phone, you have a good control over them. And if you've got a good control over them and their capacity to what they can and can't do, then you know that there are certain things they can't do. They can't take photographs. They can't take photographs of vehicles. They can't, go on the internet and check things. They can't be tracked with GPS, although the cars have got GPS on it. Every vehicle you're getting is tracked with GPS now. So, all these things... It's a miracle that, with all the tracking of mobile phones, this is why the government want everyone to be under complete and total surveillance. But who is surveilling? Who is surveilling and for what reasons? This is the thing. You don't want to be in a world where, the media are the ones who are surveilling and they know everything that you're doing. They know, Piers Morgan knows, where you're going to go for your Chinese takeaway tomorrow because you text messaged your friend, and then you could plan and go, put a fucking, some menus in the takeaway, that were, laced with, God knows what drugs, according to, you could get your crispy crackers, and put stuff in them. This is the thing. When people are planning around us, that's what I'm trying to say. And their capacity to surveil and plan around us means they've got control of our lives. And you don't want strangers to have control over your lives. And I don't think the government, Boris Johnson with his, COVID parties, or Matt Hancock, are competent or trustworthy people to have control of our lives. When they're even lying to us about lawful due process, they're lying to us about petitions committee, what you can even submit. They're not even letting us get help telling the truth about tax, for when it's for government purposes, not private company, when it's for things for Parliament, and then, there's a lot of these councils being lying about multiple, running 600 fines through an hour that they can't possibly do. There's a lot. At the moment, until the government comes out, crispy clean like a fresh towel at dry cleaners, you don't want to. You wouldn't give them that power. And why would you want your government to plan around you anyway? The thing is, they are planning with building and planning, and they've been allowing all this building and planning and all the ultra-processed foods and all of it. And I think around this crime, they're using people for example. They're using them as legal and political tools, inmates and persons. And with all the undercover surveillance and police, it's quite intimidating. And I never planned to get involved in all this or do the campaign. But we've come to a crescendo now where, the BBC have flashed a referee card saying, oh, by the way, we've got all access to all your photos on your phone, and so has Piers Morgan, and so has the police. We're at this kind of like the good, the bad, and the ugly standoff point where you've got you've got like the Angel Eyes guy, you've got Clint Eastwood, and then you've got the El Gringo, and that's like, they've got this Mexican standoff with these three people, and, someone's taking the bullets out of his gun. Someone's taking the bullets out of our gun because the petitions committee won't even allow our petitions to get registered. They won't allow us to get subpoenas or warrants of information or data. They won't allow us to get the leaflets or pamphlets to... or newspaper adverts at the tax zero rating so we can afford it. We're disarmed. The government have treated us, they've pumped us full of this ultra-processed food. We are like the El Gringo. And then David Cameron's got the cheek to go give, the Rock of Gibraltar back to the Spanish. We're being set up. we've had the bullets taken out of our guns, even though we've got the right to bear arms for defence, although, they make you got to get a licence now, but we don't really have the right to bear arms for defence because we don't have a right to bear arms, only the police are armed now, and if you're walking around the streets, with anything, they take it off you. We don't have see, in the Bill of Rights, we've got the right to bear arms, but we don't have the right to bear arms, or if you've got a licence, well, you got a license when someone's attacking you and you need to use it for defence, The license to bear arms for defence is in the attack. It's like, it's illegal to draw arms against the king, but, if someone draws arms against you, then you therefore you're licensed to bear arms for defence, I don't know where you get a gun from, though, whether you want one. So my opinion is that not only have we been treated like the El Gringo and we have been disarmed through all these legal processes, which we could take control of our democracy fairly in a fair, Mexican standoff. They've also not only taken away our ammunition, our capacity, but they've actually given us this mobile phone, which is more like an albatross around the neck. You keep getting Tony Blair and many other people. They've got this scene at the moment, the albatross around the neck or whatever, Well, the albatross around the neck is they've given us all these mobile phones, so they're surveilling us all, and they're planning around us. And the media are, and they're mocking us in their newspaper front covers and stories. They're intimidating us on television by, and through these search algorithms on YouTube and harassment. And we really are being abused, I think, now. And then they're claiming that, we'll have to consolidate all these facial recognition and surveillance laws and put it into overdrive, when they're already doing it anyway to an extent. They just want to make it official so then they can reveal that they're doing it. But they're doing like a strip tease with it. They're strip teasing it. It's like Matt Hancock, like a strip tease, like when he's hidden behind the door in Parliament having a snog on camera, the strip tease, and then it's Penny Mordaunt's apparently, according to Supertansky, having sex in the House of Commons floor 6 times or something. They're strip teasing us, right? And it's porn. It's political porn. And what they're doing is like, slowly on the BBC slowly it comes out that we've got all access to your photos. Like, Panorama. Oh, we've got all access to all your photos. And Piers Morgan, he's been listening to all your text messages. He knows where you're going for your lunch. You'll have a woman waiting there. It's Rebecca Brooks, dressed in a cocktail dress, in a waiting room, drunk. When you turn up at the Chinese restaurant, pretending she's by herself. Oh, like. Oh, what are you doing here? Oh, it's like, there's no Gallagher turns up, and then, that's the next thing, it's all coming out in the press. This is it. We're being strip teased by these people. Now you can't, go and do, now we're banning you from doing petitions here, we're banning you from doing petitions there. Extinction Rebellion people who have been banned from even going out in public and doing gigs or travelling now, when they've actually meant to have rights. We're being strip teased down with this albatross around his neck. And what they're doing is it's like the Wizard of Oz, right? It's kind of like, the curtain, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, but what actually is behind the curtain, it's not Matt Hancock having like a snog, with some, dame in Parliament, some secretary staff or some other MP or, some hot, secretary. Well, what it is It is like, them gradually, we've been listening in the whole time, and we've been playing around you the whole time, and now we'll arrange for your, car to veer into a wall, bang, now we've got an incident, and then we were smuggling in the drugs into the jail cell the whole time, and we're smuggling the guns, because we wanted a propaganda story for the press, and there's the scapegoat, the fall guy, the convict, the right man for the job. It's Gallant. There's Gallant, the right man for the job on the London Bridge at the right time and place. This is it. And it's all. What's going to come off is the ability. You see what they've done with their fight. Everything they've made and built. With planned, where are you going to go to eat? Well, they've given planning permission for 3 Chinese restaurants, 2 Indian takeaways, a pizza shop, and a KFC. So, that's what they've planned, and that's where the only places you can go for eat. And then you get a phone call from, your Uncle Peterson. My phone rings at the same time as Uncle Peterson's, and your phone rings at the same time as Uncle Peterson's, and then go, hello, it's Uncle Peterson. Oh, there you are. Are you all right? And then you play a recorded message of Uncle Peterson going, hey, do you want a Chinese meal tonight? Oh, actually, yeah, I will do. I won't say no to that. Well, there's and that. Oh, well, I'll come pick you up then, and then play a message on Uncle Peterson's phone. Do you want to go for it? This is it. You might think that's joke, but all these, everything you drive past now is compelling you. It's like a striptease, why don't you go to the Coco Cabongo, and have a chicken fried rice and a sweet and sour, this is it, it's like a dancing hula girl, come to the Coco Cabongo, come have a sweet and sour chips, 6 months later, is there put 20 stone on, he's been strip-teased, but he hasn't been strip-teased, he's been, stuffed like a Christmas duck, It's not strip-tease, he's been stuffed like a Christmas duck, it's like stuffing a Christmas turkey. Oh, look, it's Lord Annenfield, bum, 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 bum. He's been strip-teased as Annenfield, The only thing he hasn't been strip-teased of is his, exclusive cognizance, That's the other thing that he's got left, We need to do something about this. We're at a critical... I think we're at a critical stage.
Lewis Edwards.
We're at a critical stage with all this. And I don't. Some of these justices, I know it's super serious, but they're playing it as everything is like face value, right? Fact. And there's evidence to prove it, but my standards of evidence are kind of like, what the school teacher's saying, with the standard of school teaching, they're not critical thinkers anymore. Now, you might say, well, we can't have paranoia, but I know what was happening in those courts, in the magistrates' courts, and we're being conned, we're being played, we're being cheated, we're being strip-teased, we're being cup and ball tricked like Uri Geller, and we're being duped. And unfortunately, that's same with the voting in the elections as well. And with our entire culture and diet. And then the TV shows, we're being tricked. It's all false and fake. The makeup's not real. They don't really look like that. And everyone in the country isn't like, worshipping them and, clapping, like coming out for the clap. It's just a studio audience and it's made to sound like this is the coolest thing ever. But actually, it's not, because there are other people in the country having a better time going to the Lake District with their family, in a camper van or whatever it is, right? And it's... the television is a tool of deception, those TV programs, it's like stage set and setting, right? And people believe it. And, and this is the thing with the crime scenes now. My the final opinion is that they've become so adept with the production of film that, Coronation Street, the timing, their ability, like on the Truman Show movie with, Carrey, with the actor Jim Carrey, it's I wouldn't go so far as to say that they got control of the sun and the moon, but we know they're doing some things with chemicals and the weather. It does feel like the Truman Show now, and you don't want to. I don't want to live in a world where Piers Morgan is that guy in the Truman Show, who it's all kind of like, covert control, whether or not, people are in on certain jokes or not. Because it's not, you want life to be spontaneous and unpredictable. Well, not unpredictable, dangerous, but, you don't want life to be a deja vu or like, a movie playing back. Where everything is, already guaranteed and predicted. The only thing you want that's guaranteed is that gravity. The level of direction of the movies now is engaged through the Highways Agency, through the road signage control. I experienced that in my investigation. They were playing me around. They were flicking and switching signs and altering timing like they did with, I don't know if it was it Sir Bobby Charlton or the other football manager, when he was late for the football match and he ended up weeing himself, making him late for the football match by messing around with the traffic, knowing that he would, testing him to see if he would, Alex Ferguson it was, to see if he would, break the law. I think to have the idea of like a Big Brother TV programme that is observations and psychology, and then have like the whole Ant and Dec Jungle programme. That's what they like. That's what they're interested in. That's what turns them on now. Or people watching, controlling people, having power over people, and in their game they win. Boris Johnson, is a successful, television personality, prime minister, newspaper column, wife and family, but yeah, he's failing. They try all these tricks, and it just ends up making it worse. I'm not trying to claim that this court is a setup, but I'm a very, very, very suspicious person when it comes to events. If you're engaged in something serious or important, and any person who is getting involved with crime and the police is putting themselves in a position where they can be taken advantage out of and used as a pawn. That's the word, isn't it? A pawn. So, I think a lot of these people and these channels are pawns. A lot of these criminals are pawns in a bigger game. Now, some of them, some people might not be capable of doing what they did. Some people might not be compelled of, murder or theft or whatever. But what you find is that I found that there are, everyone's got a button, a button, a switch, a trigger point. And like I said, the military have extensively studied the trigger points of men like Gallant, on that London Bridge. And they've trained them and they've drilled them and they've rigorously pushed all their buttons, and they've got to pull the trigger. They've got to be able to pull that trigger when they're overseas in Afghanistan and kill. And the police know people, and there are certain triggers they can pull on people by just annoying them, send someone a text message that the wife's had an affair, and they could end up kicking the car in, and denting the old car. There's an insurance job. It's bad luck if it's someone else's car, or there are, it's like the dark arts, and what I think is, when it comes to these magistrates and judges and police, I don't think that is allowed to be entertained into the equation. And those who are in the position of doing it, are able to do it, are so light years ahead that they cannot be identified. Because if you think about it, right, if you look at YouTube now everyone's got a YouTube channel. Now everyone's making programs. Now everyone's got watchers. And all you've got is a mobile phone and even a tripod or a little stand or a clip of a decent mobile phone camera. Like, you can be sat in your house or go out in the countryside and you can make a TV program with nothing for free. What are the overheads on that? So if you have been running a television studio or a Universal Studios or Warner Brothers or the BBC Panorama or you name it, ITV and DEC, and you have been having maximum funding of mankind with studios, ranks of people at your command, sets, actors, makeup artists, see the end of the film, or more than television, big movie directors, Universal Studios, George Lucas, millions, then what your capabilities of in setting up a scene for anyone to happen upon, and directing the scene, so they don't even know that it is a scene, is so the finances and professional adeptness at that, the skills in that, the specialisation in that is so light years ahead, because it's been exclusive to a particular small group of people who have not shared it out between everyone. They've kept it to themselves and controlled it all, that you've ended up with, we don't know how far they've gone with it. And you don't actually need a television studio for a set, because they use the street. Coronation Street, is a set, but they can go the real places, Byberry Village or wherever it is, it's a real place. And all they need to do is plan ahead and have people ready. Now, the thing with these people is, this is the whole porn thing. If you need someone who's predictable and you need them to do a certain thing, you can direct them. If all I need is a guy to, give someone a pizza box, then, I'll ring them up and say, deliver a pizza to number 57, right? If I need to get, someone back home to number 57, but he's at work, send him a text message saying that his wife says, I need to go home, it's an emergency, right? Left something. I'm being very vague with this, but I'm not intelligent enough to do it. This is why you've got all these, television programs, like Columbo and so forth. They go through the whole thing, but police say that it doesn't actually work like that in real life. Well, I actually think that in real life, it works not like on the television programs, but also not like in the police. But like when the police actually report it to us, though. The police report these things happening, because the police say, like, they go on Jeremy Vine's show and they're like, oh, you know, I was in deep cover. I was a police officer. I was in deep cover. I was investigating, you know, a heroin smuggling ring. And the evidence was in a locked police car. And then it disappeared. It vanished from a locked police car. Where is it gone? So someone they smuggled more than a gun into a police station, and they smuggled more than a terrorist onto London Bridge, you know, and they smuggled more than a silver car with a Ben number plate, you know, to be parked by a post box. They got evidence, police evidence, out of a locked police car, right? And the police even admitted that. A high-ranking detective undercover even reported that, that he didn't know who it was. And he actually, then what happened is it affected his life. He ended up having to leave his job and becoming alcoholic and so forth himself. So his entire life was ruined as a police officer because of it. That's what he said. Now, was the Jeremy Vine show set up so that was that story on Jeremy Vine to scare police officers like, police bobbies who are prying into people's business? You know, this is it. You know, who's doing the setup? The BBC? You know, have they asked him on? You know, we'll have this show on. It'll intimidate police officers, you know, or the police officer. These are the levels and levels of riddles. And that's why I don't like Court, because I know that it's this whole, they operate on beyond reasonable doubt. And if the jury believe it, and if a lawyer can put a case for it, and if these very, very serious, academic, well-spoken, well-educated people who take the job extremely seriously, although they don't rank as high as the Archbishop of Canterbury, who's just had an interview with Roger Hallam, who had his cell messed with while he was, in prison transfer as well, for example. You know, these very serious people, you know, I know that you can't just not believe anything anyone tells you because, you know, you've got to believe something. But, you know, would you believe? You know, and then you got Prince Harry booing that, you know, Piers Morgan's pretending to being his friend 1 minute and the next minute he's hacking his phone. Yet Prince Harry, if he wanted to, could have, you know, William give him the, Wonderwall of mobile phones, you know, with a fucking, 007 fucking cigarette lighter in the back of it and a smoke screen or whatever, you know. This is the thing, you know. What was Morgan, you know, were they texting Morgan, pretending to be Morgan's friend, saying, let's hack Harry's phone? Were they provoking Morgan into doing it? And then calling Harry, you know, this is the thing. Who's moving the pawn pieces? The thing is now, it's so uncertain that people don't know to ask or check, right? You know, but... You know, and in many instances, you can't prove it now. It's impossible to prove it. Even the mobile phone company now cannot figure out what's going on with my phone. Yet, there's something wrong with it. Oh, factory reset it. It's highly inconvenient for me to factory reset the phone. My pages aren't loading up within the page now. I can't send numbers to certain people, you know, etc., etc. They can't fix it. I think they've got us. They've really got the albatross around our necks, all of us, and they've really, really, really disarmed us with the law. We could do something about it by using due lawful process. They priced us out of lawful due process. We can't afford access. Take it through Parliament, the government, they're denying it, they're lying, they're saying you can't submit this, you can't submit that. They won't give us any powers, and they won't even give us the financial access to adequate services at the correct tax rate in either. We're being treated like, we're being played by these people, and they created the entire social status quo that we're in, where these criminals end up doing these things. Now, if you think that those people would do those things anyway and you want to test them, then, you know, you know, you shouldn't be, button push. You shouldn't be testing people. I don't think it's a good idea. We should be understanding people and, discussing these matters and talking about them and having people to help people out. Not button pushing. I don't think that's the problem. What we're going to do about it, I don't know, but I'm not keen on Sky News. I'm not the greatest fan of television. I don't like the instrument and what it has done. We're not responsible as humans. We're not responsible with the ultra-processed food. We're not responsible with the television. And we're not responsible even currently with the government. There's just no responsibility. So, at the moment, we've got school teachers saying that the critical thinking is going down in everyone. If the critical thinking level is going down in everyone, we aren't going to solve it. And people are just going to be happy chewing on a donut while everything goes to havoc. While they're frantically... main objective of the television is trying to get the audience into the studio and keep them clapping. If they can get the audience into the studio, if they can get them clapping, then that's job done. This is what George Galloway was saying, like clicks. You're talking about, clicking on Piers Morgan. Although I think George Galloway has kind of got a chip on his shoulder that his other channel's not doing that as good as some of these other places, but. Well, not on YouTube. It might be on these other channels that it gets put out through. But, George Galloway is kind of like saying the same thing. It's all about the clicks, the claps, and the clicks and the claps. This is what Chris Packham and Neil Oliver have also come around to now, although they are in the popularity game. Why even make this discussion? You've got to do something at the end of the day, I suppose. But, someone's messing us around. Someone's playing us all. And we're only doing what we're doing because someone's doing something to us. And I don't think that many people were bad people. I think some of these people have been pushed. I think some of these people have been manipulated. And they should and could be leading honest, happy model citizen lives. No one's perfect, and I think that they've been taken advantage out of and set up to have bad luck or to fail, whether it's through diet or fines or fees or whatever, and I don't like it. And I think that there are ways and means of finding the bad people without needing to have this absolute surveillance and power and control, just through social, instead of these television programs who think they're the saviors of the planet, that cramming a studio full of people and getting them to clap is going to solve all the crime. No, having a new government department of care instead of the NHS that doesn't let people messing about and trick them and deceive them, and pretend pretending they're upset and crying or whatever, but actually savvy, intelligent, and able to fix people's problems, paid for by the government to fix people's problems, care about people's problems, but if they were, but they're not, because they're cared about clapping. They're cared about sitting down, picking up the takeaway and, putting it in the mouth and clapping to the giggles on the TV and the, loose women or whatever it is, and the Ant and Dec in the jungle, that they're not bothered about solving the problems. This is the thing with, Matt Hancock. Oh, Matt Hancock's going to have a heart-to-heart in the jungle. No, not elected MPs. We don't elect MPs to sway the public opinion. They're meant to be in working for the public, you know, a proper department. Why do you need Matt Hancock on the TV making himself, you know, famous and popular and swaying the public in his next election and voting after he's been, you know, caught snogging behind the door, if that ain't enough? You know, when, you know, all the money for that TV show, all of this profits and money from these TV shows could be into legitimate departments, not cells and handcuffs and truncheons and surveillance, but into actual concern. There's no concern in Matt Zuckerberg creating a platform that is block, 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 ban, ban, ban. Speak to man because my face ain't listening. It's just all wrong. You know, taking a YouTube channel down. How about, you know, Neil Mohan going, you know, hey, look, here's a load of problem videos. What's wrong with that person? How can we help them out, you know? This people's got some weird sexual kinky shit on there. They shouldn't be doing that, you know? Send someone round to help them, you know, not, you know, ban them and block them, you know, and send the police round, you know, to arrest them. You know, this is the thing. The culture is built on dumb. It's not built on a, you know, I don't think that the entire jurisdictive model is a very good one, at least not from, you know, not from Roman conquest anyway. Not in the world we've got. This world we've got and this culture, civilization is wrong. It's a big mistake. There are far better ideas for public funded services, but these other people don't care. You know, I don't think, you know, I think that Jeff Bezos would care if he was selling you the robot android who was going to be your best friend and solve all the, that have a heart to heart with Andromeda or whatever, and for, you know, only Elon Musk can knock it out at, you know, for less than $10,000. Andromeda, your dream solution, you know, for only $10.99. It's like in Back to the Future, you know, with the DeLorean, you know, when they, like, you know, we'll turn your car into a Skyway Flyer for only $999.99. And, you know, now they've got the Orkney Island where they're launching a rocket into space, like Dr. No's Island or something. You know, but they're not even saying no in Orkney to these space station, although it's probably at least accessible by boat, and we don't have to have them all going there by ship, you know. There are more important things like providing free electricity to everyone than getting people into space. Getting people free electricity, natural energy, rather than getting people into space should be a priority, not at the space station.